What's up, motherfuckers? We're gonna talk about photosynthesis today. Let me write this out. Wait a damn minute. We're gonna talk about, what a long ass word, photosynthesis. Okay. How do I even introduce photosynthesis? Okay. Photosynthesis. Okay. So photosynthesis is the reason, whoops-a-daisy, is the reason why you're not dead. So I want you to imagine this, right? The sun. He's so happy. This plant right here, it's also so happy. The sun is pointing to this plant, and so is this water right here, and so is this carbon dioxide. Now you might be very confused why I am drawing this, but basically what you're gonna know is that by the end of this lesson, it turns into sugars, like these nice little sugar cubes. It also turns into the oxygen that you and I breathe. Cool. Okay, so let's get into this. I'm gonna write this long ass equation. Now you see this equation? Forget about it. I don't care about it. We're just gonna talk about the basics. It's just plants. It's just plants doing chemistry instead of therapy. What the heck? Cool. Okay. So I want you to imagine, if you will, this green thing I'm drawing. This is the chloroplast right here. The chloroplast, which is what I'd like to call Little Green Solar Factory. Yep. Little Green Solar Factory. So what does this Little Green Solar Factory have? Well, they have these two little areas, these things that we like to call, let me draw them out first, right? You know what, screw this. Oh crap. They have these things that we like to call the thylakoids that are all stacked up each other, and all this stuff in the middle, this gooey stuff, is what we have named the stroma. Very useful, right? Okay, so why do we care about this chloroplast? Well, that's where photosynthesis happens. Photosynthesis happens in the chloroplast. That I just somehow managed to spell incorrectly, but I don't really care. Photosynthesis happens in the chloroplast. How? Well, the first thing is light-dependent reactions. Light-dependent reactions happen in the thylakoid. While the second one, which we have very well named, can you guess it? That's right, the Calvin cycle. Were you expecting like dark reactions? No, heck no. What a stupid idea would that be? It's the Calvin cycle. Because when you think of light-dependent reactions and its following thing, who doesn't think of the Calvin cycle? Anyways, okay. So let's go into light-dependent reactions, shall we? So when we get to light-dependent reactions, I'm going to say LDR. Sunlight hits the chlorophyll. Now the chlorophyll is a part of this chloroplast right here. It's a green pigment, And you might be wondering, why is it green? Well, that's because plants don't like green. And by that, I mean they don't absorb it. Which is why most plants you see are green. Because whenever light hits green, instead of being absorbed like usual stuff, no, it instead just bounces right off. So that's why most plants you see are green. Okay, so this chlorophyll that you see here, the sunlight hits it and it blasts electrons into overdrive. So these start up something called the electron transport chain, which is something that we'll go into eventually, which we use to make two things, ATP and NADPH. So just think of this as energy and a delivery truck. I legit could not think of anything better than a delivery truck. So that's what we're going to have to do. ATP is energy and ADPH is a delivery truck. Okay, so meanwhile, water, I'm going to draw water right here. Water gets split into three things. It gets split into hydrogens, electrons, which I'm going to draw with a negative sign, and oxygen. So basically, this oxygen is technically waste, but after the plant breaks it down, it just releases all this oxygen into the air. And that's what we breathe. So be thankful to plants because we're breathing in their waste. PU. Am I right? Okay. So basically, yeah, you just inhale plant waste. Thanks, nature. Whatever. Okay. Now, for the better part, what we call the Calvin cycle. This Calvin cycle. I want you to imagine the Calvin cycle as the plant's, as the plant's sugar factory. So, picture this for me, if you will. This is what I'm going to draw out, this long-ass treadmill looking delivery line. Okay, so on one side, CO2 gets dropped off and it's like raw material. Then you have this worker right here, right? He's so happy to be here. And his name is Rubisco. Oh, yep, wait, I did that right. Rubisco is an enzyme. So enzymes help us out a lot. Rubisco, who is also, I don't want to say he's happy. In fact, he's very sad because he's quite overworked. So he's not very happy. But he takes this CO2 right here and he has his little welding gun and he welds it on to RUBP. Bub. So basically RUBP is this 5-carbon molecule. Okay. So in this way, how I want you to imagine it is that this makes what we later call down the line 3-PGA, which then rolls down the delivery line to another worker. This worker uses ATP and NADPH, which we mentioned before, and they process this 3-PGA into G3P. So after a few cycles, some of that G3P leaves the line and becomes glucose, which is also just known as plant fuel. Plant fuel. So the rest get recycled into RUBP to keep the whole thing running. So you might be wondering, well, how do you do that? Well, that's because this is something that is getting too much into actually good learning territory. There are 6 of these running at the same time. Every time they get 6 of these running, you get 36 carbons. 6 carbons go on to make glucose, while 30 carbons go on to make the 6 RUBPs needed. So every time we make glucose, it's 6 of these cycles working together to make 1 glucose and 6 RUBPs to make that glucose again. So that's basically it. Okay, so let's do a quick recap, shall we? Light cycles. Sorry, not light cycles. Damn. Light reactions. They happen in the thylakoid. So they use sunlight and water to make ATP, NADPH, and oxygen, which is just waste. And then we move on to the Calvin cycle, which uses that ATP and that NADPH and a little bit of CO2 in order to make glucose. So basically what happens is that sunlight turns into energy, which turns into sugars. And if plants one day, if plants decided, fuck it, they decided to not do that anymore, we would all just die. Yeah, that's what happens. No pressure. Okay, so last thing. Actually, I don't know why I'm doing this. This is probably a weird kink or something. I don't know. But got this plant right here, super strong. They grind day in and day out, and they be making us sugars and oxygens, and they be making sure all that CO2 is gone. And sometimes you forget to water them and they die. So in the end, the moral of this story is you're a dick. And that's photosynthesis. Damn, I should really get a job.